But since the good congressman is taking time out of his extremely busy schedule to visit with us, we always, just like we do with your phone calls, if you call in at 227-7777, I usually stop whatever I'm doing to take your call because I am that nice a guy. So, without any further, delay, I guess I'll say welcome to Congressman Benishek. Glad to have you here.
Oh, thanks for having me on, Dan. Appreciate it.
And always appreciate having any of our elected officials. But as you know, as I say, you're our congressman. But jokingly say, at least at the moment, you're my favorite congressman because you're sitting right here next to me. But. There's a lot going on, and I know there's a campaign going on. But as I for the most part, if we want to talk about the campaign, great. But for the most part, usually your habit has been wanting to talk about the work that you're doing, and which I know is a lot. So I guess I'll just let you start and say hello, and I've got some things that I'd like to talk about. I have a feeling they're the same things you want to talk about, so we'll just kind of have a conversation.
Well, great. No, thanks for having me here. This week I've been going across the district talking to people. Yesterday, actually, I was in Houghton. I stopped in an auto repair shop and a tire dealer, and I stopped at the hospital there. We're working on a project in our office to improve vocational education.
Yeah,
across northern Michigan, because really there are jobs available for people with the right skills, not so much college skills, but trade skills and technical skills like welding, auto mechanics, computerized machining. Those skills lead to a good paying job right here in northern Michigan, and we're trying to improve the ability for people to get those skills. So we got to stop and see a business, a guy that's on the ISD board over there in Houghton. He's got an auto shop, and he started out by taking auto mechanics in high school, and working his way up, and ended up buying a business, and now he's been in business for 28 years, and he wants to see a good pipeline of people being able to get the skills they need for the jobs that are here, and we're encouraging intermediate school districts to use us to help them find a grant to get the equipment they need to do the training.
Very good.
And we're working with businesses to make sure that businesses communicate with community colleges about what skills that they need their employees to have before they can come apply for a job. So we're working to provide grants for local school districts.
That's something I didn't know.
Community colleges to help them get the equipment they need to do the training they need to get the jobs that there are.
So that's great, because I think the focus on vocations, as we've talked about before, is so important, because when I was in high school, in junior high, in those younger years, they had shop and they had things that everybody was exposed to. And somewhere along the line, we got this focus on college, where if you weren't focused on college, there was something wrong with you. And that was such a horrible mistake, because the trades are so important, and
Absolutely.
They're good-paying jobs, and we all need them. And they certainly shouldn't be looked down upon. And
absolutely, there's an opportunity to have a job that you can raise a family, buy a house, buy a truck, and we need to encourage people to at least explore that area. Rules by the feds with the curriculum have made it difficult for high schools to even offer to children, to youngsters, the opportunity to see what these jobs are like by having
Right.
a trade curriculum. And like you say, when I was in high school,
Everybody was exposed to all of them.
everybody was exposed to it, or at least had the opportunity to take a auto shop or a metal shop class or a wood shop and
Right.
get exposed to that to see if they wanted to do further training. And oftentimes, even with your high school training, you were qualified to do a job like auto mechanics.
Right.
So we're really working hard to try to coordinate the training to provide kids just the opportunity to see what's out there. Anyway, these guys in Houghton yesterday, not only at this auto shop, but also at the hospital, which uses certified nursing assistants. That's a skill to be a certified nurse assistant. Doesn't take too long of a time to get training for that, and it leads to an entry-level job at hospitals and nursing homes. So we got to see how these businesses, the hospital there, Portage View, and this Keweenaw Automotive, uses those students, uses these programs to get students into their facility.
Now, you said something that piqued my interest because, again, the focus on the trades is so very important. But it never dawned on me till you mentioned it that the schools who in the past might have had some of these programs dismantled or mothballed might need to update the equipment to be able to make it possible again. And I didn't realize that there was grant money available for that to make it possible. Or are we fighting to get that grant money?
Well, no, there's money available. We recently helped a community college in Escanaba get a grant to improve their facilities, and we also helped the ISD in Iron Mountain get a grant to start a new facility there. So we can definitely help in our office to get that happen. As a matter of fact, one of my employees here in my Marquette office is sort of our grant specialist. So
excellent.
She's able to kind of steer people in the right direction, not only for federal grants but for private grants, and help people. We help them like sending letters of support, and me being able to tour the facility and get a chance to talk to the teachers and the students, gives me an opportunity to write a real letter of support that documents that these programs are really helping students.
Excellent. It's 10 after official break, and we'll be right back with Congressman Dan Benishek. You're listening to In the Right Mind on Sunny FM.
You're tuned into In the Right Mind with Dan Adamini on Sunny 98.3 WRUP and WKQSFM.com. We'll be right back.
Enjoy the perfect meal combination at your Marquette Big Boy restaurant with Burger Lovers Burgers and Footlong Hot Dogs. Try Johnny's Bacon Cheddar Burger or the Fiesta Burger. How about a sweet and savory chicken sandwich? Don't forget about the classic Footlong Hot Dog or the Coney Dog. Choose between fresh-made seasoned chips, French fries, red-skin potato salad, or coleslaw as a side. Then go with an ice cream mini for dessert, like a mini banana split or a mini shake. Burger Lovers Burgers and Footlong Hot Dogs now at your Marquette Big Boy restaurant.
For real estate questions, call Carol Brady at Select Realty, the name you know and trust for all your real estate needs. If you're buying, selling, renting, or just thinking about purchasing property or residence, call Carol Brady. A native of Marquette County, Carol Brady can help you get the most out of the home you're selling and can help you find what you're looking for. Visit CarolBradyRealEstate.com or call 362-3152. And when you talk to Carol, thank her for sponsoring In the Right Mind.
Mickey's Marquette Detailing is the name you need to know if you need body work done. Always get a quote from Mickey's Marquette Detailing. Whether it's your own fault or somebody else's, you don't want to pay any more than you have to, and even though their price is usually lower than your other quotes, the quality of the work at Mickey's Marquette Detailing is great. So if you need a touch-up or a major repair, remember Mickey's Marquette Detailing. Give them a call at 228-7459. That's Mickey's Marquette Detailing, and when you're there, thank them for sponsoring In the Right Mind.
Welcome back to In the Right Mind, everybody. This is Dan Adamini. Glad you're with us today, and a special treat to start off the show for this week. We're sitting here in the studio with Congressman Dan Benishek. We had him on the phone last week, but there's nothing like being in person. So, don't forget about the Facebook page. Facebook, go to In the Right Mind MQT. For Marquette, if you're not in your right mind and you don't know what the MQT is for. In the Right Mind MQT, and you can then post questions or comments, and if it's a question or a comment that I think is worthwhile, we might even mention it on the air. So that's the best way to keep tabs on the show. So we're talking about a whole raft of things, but something that you might have seen on the news last night, and it's been in the paper, and Congressman Benishek is already up in front of this particular issue, the power plant, what we've always known as the UPCO plant over by Presque Isle. Over the years, partially because of more and more stringent EPA regulations, it was too expensive for them to remain in compliance, where they had been in compliance and probably could have stayed in compliance affordably under the old rules, but wanted to close. Of course, they can't close. The government regulates that. We don't want people to be without power. and that's understandable. But I'm going to probably massacre the summary of this. But in short, they have to stay in business. They can't, but they don't. They're not going to be forced to lose money. They're going to be subsidized. And luckily for everybody who does not live in the UP, it seems that folks in the UP are going to be stuck with paying the full weight of that subsidy. And Congressman Benishek has already written a letter to the FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. And rather than me telling you what he's done, since he's sitting right here, we should probably let him tell you what he's done. So what's going on with the plant?
Well, as you know, due to EPA regulations, the plant has been required to close down. And but in spite of that, it's also been required to update its environmental standards to the tune of like $60 million. So the Energy Regulatory Commission is going to force that cost onto Upper Peninsula ratepayers, and that is an undue burden, I believe. I think that this is going to lead to a massive increase in rates for UP residents and businesses, and really be a killer for the economy. What we've done is we've written to the FERC to say, wait a minute, don't do anything yet. Let's talk about who really has benefited from the presence of this plant, and shouldn't everyone who's benefited from the presence of this plant over the many decades it's been there be involved in having to pay for this, so that's not all on UP ratepayers.
That makes sense.
And just to be sure that everybody who has benefited from the plant has to pay for it. There's two problems. That one is the short-term problem with this rate increase, and the other is the long-term problem with power around the country in northern Michigan.
Right.
The EPA sort of has this war on coal, and we want to be sure, in view of like last winter, where energy costs skyrocketed in the UP, and we got another winter coming up, that the people in northern Michigan have some kind of a idea that they're going to have stable energy prices and not a massive increase, not only their fuel for heating their homes, but now with their electricity.
Right.
So we're working to make sure that we have reasonable all the above energy plan, not exclude coal.
Right. When they say all of the above, they don't really mean all of the above.
Because frankly, I grew up in the UP. I want to have a clean environment. It's crucial to the way we live up here, having clean water and clean air, and crucial for our economy. So we want to definitely protect the environment, but we need to make sure that we have reasonable regulations that don't force massive rate increases on a small segment of the people that are in the area.
I know that there are people who think, solar and wind and and biomass, all of those things are great options. But my problem with the folks is say those are to replace everything that we've relied on, and they want it done now. And as a supplement, and again, if the folks who are saying all of the above really meant all of the above, I think we'd actually be headed in a really good direction. That's not really what they seem to mean.
Well, my position is that really the EPA is overreaching. Mm-hmm. I mean, you saw what happened with County Road 595 here in Marquette, where we've the state and the local road commission worked hard to try to meet the
very stringent standards
that we have here in the state of Michigan, and yet that wasn't good enough for the EPA. Even the Michigan DNR was not an adequate person to oversee the wetland restoration. So, I mean, we need to rein in this really overzealous EPA and be sure that people in northern Michigan continue to pay reasonable rates for their electricity. I mean, many of the businesses that require on electricity, may be in trouble because, I know, for example, the Manistee paper plant depends on power generated through this plant. If they get a $1 million a month rate increase, it's going to be tough for that paper plant to stay open. So it's crucial to the economy here. I talked to hospitals and school districts that have a pretty big power bill. And if they get a major increase in their rates, these school districts and hospitals are going to be facing, real trouble going forward.
And a lot of this issue developed, well, again, partially EPA. It's a complex issue. I don't want to oversimplify too much. But when CCI decided they were no longer going to buy their power from Upper Peninsula Power Company, Wisconsin Energy, it was because it was so expensive and they were going to buy it cheaper on the grid. Well, it sounds like now, from the numbers I've seen, they're going to be bearing the brunt of this subsidy to keep this plant in business. So they were moving so they could stay in business and keep these good jobs up here. Now, if this new ruling goes through and based on the usage, they're going to be subsidizing. They might end up paying actually more than they were before, which means all of these jobs are again in jeopardy. You know, we've extended the life of this mine many times, but yeah, this ruling seems like it's going to do much more harm than good.
Well, that's what I think. I mean, I believe in a clean environment, but when the government makes all kinds of regulations without any concern about the economic impact of the regulations, that's wrong.
And even what they're doing. I'm not convinced that we already had some of the most stringent regulations, and to make them more stringent doesn't necessarily indicate to me they're looking for a cleaner environment. It looks like they're just trying to put these particular plants out of business, is what it appears to me.
Well, that's what we found out about County Road 595. I mean, we tried to mitigate that to the best degree known to man, but the EPA, not being from northern Michigan, not understanding how much we want to protect our own environment because we live here,
right,
puts on rules that are uniform across the country and not specific to Michigan. So, I'm working hard to make sure that, fuel and energy prices stay low for families in northern Michigan. So it's a major issue going forward. We're working with the FERC to ask them to delay any imposition of these rate increases until all the stakeholders have an opportunity to state their case and, take their time moving forward until we can get our position on the table.
And hopefully find some success with that, because I know that at least history seems to indicate they're not the easiest people to work with, and when they get on their mission, they do. So, again, really thank you for at least fighting for what seems to be the right thing here, and hopefully we find some success there.
Well, it's a constant battle. We just got to keep it up, and I'm certainly talking to the people in Washington, and Fred Upton from Michigan he's the chairman of the Energy and Commerce Committee. He's on the case, and we're working hard to make sure that the people in the UP get a fair shake.
Something as a doctor, you certainly must have certainly opinions and probably a little better background to address. I talked a little bit about Ebola last week. It's still in the news, and it's becoming a bigger and bigger threat and concern. But as opposed to a guy like me who just likes to read a lot and try to educate myself, for somebody who actually already has already has a medical background, you probably have a little more insight into this. It seems to me that when this first started, it's really hard to catch. I never really bought into that, but I know a lot of people did. And then when you see people, if you're going to go clean the area, people are in hazmat suits, it seems like it's maybe not as hard to catch in the first place. But it's here now, so we need to, I guess, two things. First, finding out what happened is only part of it, but what do we do now? And what's going on? What can we do at the federal level for this?
Well, I'm a surgeon. I'm not an infectious disease specialist, but I certainly understand what an infectious disease is. And really, this, to me, is a matter of security. We need to be sure that, the CDC and the FAA work together to be sure that the people that may have been exposed to get the proper quarantine and test to be sure that they don't have Ebola. And we also need to be sure that our borders are secure and that people that have been in areas where there is contact with the disease get their proper screening and necessary quarantine to prevent the spread of this deadly disease in our country. I was sort of disappointed in what happened, so far, where people from Liberia coming over here, haven't been adequately screened in some cases. So we need to be sure that happens, and I think maybe make a little more stringent rules so that people with the potential for infection don't get into the country, and then make sure that our public health services, our hospitals, everything have the adequate preparation to deal with the crisis once it occurs. But we've been in contact with the Center for Disease Control and with the FAA to urge them to, be on the extra cautious side when it comes to public health here in the states.
Well, it certainly caught the attention of a lot of folks, and rightly so. I mean, when there's not a lot of diseases that, this is not just the flu where you get sick and you're out of commission for a couple of weeks and then you're back to normal. This certainly is something to be concerned about, and there's always people who are so eager to point the finger at how it happened, and that's important to find out why it happened. But it's more important to solve the problem of what do we do going forward.
Well, I think we should be doing everything possible to prevent this. I mean, there's no sense in looking back on the situation and say, well, we could have done more.
Yeah, we can't do anything about that.
We need to make sure we get all hands on deck approach to dealing with this.
So, let's see. On my long list of things to oh, you know what? It's actually this conversation is going fast for me. We need to take another commercial break. We'll be right back. You're listening to In the Right Mind. We're with Congressman Benishek, and we'll be back in about 90 seconds.
You're tuned into In the Right Mind with Dan Adamini on Sunny 98.3 WRUP and WKQSFM.com. We'll be right back.
If you need towing services, call Mickey's Marquette Detailing at 228-7459. Mickey's Marquette Detailing is the preferred service by AAA of Michigan. You may also know them as Mickey's Towing. They're so good, one name isn't enough. Whether your car won't start, you blew a tire, or you're stuck in a snowbank or lost in a pothole, let Mickey's Marquette Detailing help you. They can also fix your car so it looks like new. So why would you call anyone else? Put this number in your cell phone, 228-7459, from Mickey's Marquette Detailing.
If you have legal issues, you need aggressive, experienced representation from attorneys who are willing to fight for your rights and work tirelessly to get positive results. You need George Hyde. When you step into the courtroom, you want to be accompanied by an honest, dependable legal professional who understands the justice system. You want George Hyde. If you're in a difficult legal situation, contact George Hyde at Hyde & Swashin PC. Let him guide you through the legal process step by step to ensure you receive the representation you deserve at every turn. Call Hyde & Swashin at 228-6793 and let George Hyde help you.
Need a new toner or ink cartridge? Recharge it instead. You'll save money and you'll help the environment too. Cartridges and More supports sustainability through remanufacturing of printer and copier cartridges and supports American jobs right here in Michigan. So the next time you run out of ink or toner, go to Cartridges and More. Find them online at cartandmore.com. That's cart, the letter N, then more.com. They'll repair your printer, copier, and fax machine too. Cartridges and More.
All right, folks, welcome back to In the Right Mind. I'm Dan Adamini, your gracious host for the next hour and a half. And we're sitting here with our Congressman Dan Benishek, Dr. Dan, and we have been talking about a wide range of things that should be of interest to you. And if you are not aware of these, well, gotta wonder if you're living under a rock. But very important stuff. And another important issue that has been in the news, and so many people are half-informed, and that's one of the reasons that we like to bring these topics to light. Now, if you're in this audience, we know you're not half-informed because you are in your right mind and you're paying attention. We need to help arm you so you can talk to your friends who may not be quite as up on all these issues. So, ISIS and the can't call it the war in the Middle East, but let's just talk about the ongoing war on terrorism. Now, some folks have said that Congress says they should have a vote, but they're not seem to be fighting for a vote. And I guess that's a great place to start the question because for those of you out there who think that Congress should be trying to bring this to a vote, it's a legitimate question, but the answer might surprise you. So, Congressman, what do you say to those who say, well, how come you guys haven't voted on anything?
Well, before we left Washington to come back, this time we did vote. We voted to authorize the president to train, Syrian opposition people on the ground to be the troops on the ground in Syria and Iraq. But that was a short-term resolution that allows him to do that until like December 10th, I think was the date. Frankly, the president hasn't spoken to Congress at all about what his plan is.
Right.
I've been adamant, for all the years that I've been doing this, that, I don't like troops on the ground fighting without a declaration of war.
Right.
And the president hasn't come to us with a plan of action. So I'm not going to vote for anything to authorize boots on the ground fighting over there without a much clearer plan of what's happening. And he hasn't even spoken to us. So at this point in time, he's the commander-in-chief. I don't really have a lot of confidence in the way he's been handling our foreign affairs, since he's been president. This wasn't 2 months ago. They said, well, the war is with the terrorism is over. We're going to pull out completely.
Right.
And all of a sudden now that ISIS has taken an area larger than Belgium, now it's going to be a long war, and we're going to have to fight it for a long time. Well, I think the previous president said something like that.
Yeah. And we don't want to mention him, though. My goodness.
I'm very hesitant to authorize anything more until I know a lot more about what the plan is, what's the end result, what's the victory that we're looking for. I mean, this is a serious situation. The people I've talked to in Washington feel that this ISIS threat is a real significant threat to our security. These people want to bring the war over here. I mean, they're beheading Americans on the ground, so it is a serious threat. I don't think it's something we can ignore. But nor should we put our young men and women in harm's way without a real plan. I mean, my daughter served in Iraq and Afghanistan. She was in the Navy for 5 years. She was on war cruises and did all that. But I certainly don't want to put our men and women, in harm's way without a real plan of what the action is, what's the result we can expect. And, I haven't seen that from this president.
So, all right. Well, I know you do have to run to other events. I certainly do appreciate the time you have spent with us this morning. And you've got a website, so if folks have questions and they want to reach out to you, I know that they can reach their local offices, but my understanding is email is the most efficient way, correct?
Well, you can get to us at benishek.house.gov. That's our website, and, we want people to be giving us input. Our phone number is 202-225-4735. Call us. Give us your opinion. The other thing is, if you have an issue that we can help you with, use that same number to call and ask for help. I know that veterans often have individual problems with dealing with the VA. Our office can help with that. I mean, I was just in Marquette last night at this young professionals meeting, and I talked to a student veteran at Northern, and we developed a conversation, and we're going to try to get the student, the Student Veteran Association moving here at Northern, and we do have some folks, at students at Northern that are veterans that we've been in communication with, and if we can help any veterans.